Hi guys, welcome back to the workshop, and in today's video you might get an idea from the thumbnail that we're talking about this engine. This is the SH15. I bought this from Just Engines here in the UK. The reason I've bought this engine is to go into our 1.5 meter powered thing demonstrator, wherever it is.
It's behind you. It's there.
There. But this is going to be like let's call it an unboxing. Glow 15 size engines are few and far between new now, and when I saw this one I thought I'd get it and try it out. Couldn't find any videos of it anywhere on YouTube or anything like that. So as I said, this is the SH15. What I'll do is I'll bring you in closer and we'll get a good look at it. Right then, so SH Engines 15 comes in a nice box. I've actually just noticed the labels on the back here from Just Engines. The full part number, if that's the right word. What?
Serial number?
No, part number is FS15S01R1, whatever that means. It's a 15 plain engine slash SH. shengines.com. Yeah, it just says type 15 on the outside. Fairly substantial box. So this is exactly as it opens up. We have had a look at it, but we have put it back exactly how it was. And this is what you get. So the actual engine, which we'll come to in just a second. Little muffler, which is really tiny. I haven't actually got another 15 to hand to compare it to, but to me it looks small. And in there you've got a gasket, you've got the bolts to hold it on, and an Allen key. And then you've got a prop driver, collet type prop driver. There's a washer in there of some sort. I'm guessing that's a thrust washer. But I'm sure that'll become apparent in the instructions. And we've got a prop nut, which is actually, I don't know what type you call this. This is actually, it's like a sleeve nut arrangement. So you need to make sure the prop fits this rather than fitting the shaft. And then we've got the all important stickers, which we might stick on something if the engine's alright. And instructions. So the instructions. One sheet of A4, double-sided, and the top of it says 1516 Aircraft Engine Owner's Manual. Now I'm going to say first of all, this isn't really a manual because it's a sheet of paper. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so straight away I'm thinking this is some sort of Chinglish, because there's a lot of this already that's not making much sense. The engine comes with max torque, high speed, lasting life, easy adjustment and excellent cooling. That's why we strongly believe it will be the best choice for all the aircraft pilots. Suitable for all 10 to 15 size model aircrafts on the market. Okay, so straight away they've got one small paragraph, and then they're going into proper running, break-in of the engine. It's very, very important that you get the highest performance and lifetime of your engine. Do you know, I've never ever read that before. It's actually the first line it's saying here is disassembled the rear cover of the engine and use nitro fuel, clean up the internal anti-rust oil and all the burrs before installing an aircraft. Why on earth would you open up an engine that's brand new? That's odd. Install the carburetor at the engine inlet according to the direction required for the aircraft model. Okay. Suggested fuel, somewhere between 5 and 30% nitro fuel, and the factory specified R3 plug. I don't even know if this comes with a plug. Yes, it does. Prop. So it's talking about an 8x4 or a 7x6, and the installation angle suggested blah blah blah. Right, okay. So that's all fairly standard, apart from taking the engine apart to check it before you even run it, which we will do because that's what the manual says. So I'm just looking at the pictures here. That's the idling screw, low speed needle. Okay, so this is just going on the pictures. It says set the main speed needle at 2.5 turns from bottom. I'd guess that's 2.5 turns open from fully closed. And set the low speed needle at 1mm from bottom. And that looks like it's referring to having the barrel open, so you've got a 1mm aperture. Set the low speed needle at 1 turns and 5 hours from the bottom. What on earth does that mean? 1 turn and 5 hours from the bottom. Haven't got a clue. Fuel inlet, blah blah blah. Okay, so straight away there's a few things here that aren't making much sense. And I'm saying that I know how to operate engines. I've already got a fair idea in my head how this engine's going to perform and how we're going to have to set it up. Carburetor setting and run-in procedure. Let's have a look, see what it says. Add fuel tank, needle adjustments. Where does it say what you actually have to do for the run-in? So that's just needle settings, which we know about. Okay, so what they're saying is for the first run, the engine can't go over 7,000 RPM. And for that, you've got to run 800 cc's. 800 cc's, that's over 3/4 of a litre.
Yes, it is.
So the best part of a litre of fuel through it before you can start leaning it out.
I'm guessing that's just so it can run in and clean itself out.
Pass. Right, so what's the next stage after that? So the second stage of running, so you've got to run, say, a litre through it. The next stage is to lean it out a little bit. So it reaches no more than 8,000 RPM. At that point, you've got to run roughly 600 cc's through it. So that's just over half a litre. So you've got to, the first and second stage of running is 1.5 litres of fuel through this tiny engine. That's going to take ages. After the first and second stage running procedure, engine running is complete, but the engine is still new. At this stage, we can proceed to our first initial flight. Okay. So then they're talking about flying 10,000 to 10,500 RPM. And it's talking about overheating if the RPM exceeds 11,500 RPM. Okay, so that's the instructions. I think what we're going to have to do is do our best to try and keep this as close to instructed as possible, but we might have to play it by ear and see what the engine does. So let's have a look at the actual engine itself. So it does come packaged in a bubble wrap bag, and this is exactly how it comes out of the box. The needle is already pre-installed. The car with our engine, the carb came fitted. The car came fitted, but it's not tight. So we do have to tighten that up, push it down snugly, and then tighten up this pinch bolt here. The one thing I have noticed is that the throttle lever is back to front for where we need it, so we're going to turn it 180 on the barrel, which isn't the end of the world. Everything else seems to be fairly bog standard. That's what instructions didn't talk about. The prop driver. So with the prop driver, we've got this washer in here, which is bigger than that. So what I'm going to have to do is have a look when we actually go to fit it on, see how it all fits together, see where that washer needs to be. Most helicopter engines come supplied like this. And it does look like a small helicopter engine. It's got a big head on it. It's ball raced, twin ball raced, SH15. The other thing I noticed, it says, I don't know how well you'll be able to see, just there, it says 15C. Now I believe, I'm going to have to go and check on their website, I believe SH engines make a lot of car engines as well. Now if that's the case, this could be a car engine that they're putting a different driver on, because car engines have a clutch that goes on there and whatnot. If that's the case, this engine could quite happily, I suspect, rev quite freely, which could be good. So, as I said, we've got this prop driver. Should I just get out of the bag? I should have had a knife. The collet will go on that way, like that. But then what on earth is this shim for? Does it fit over that?
Does it go on before that?
That's what I'm just looking at. I think it does go on before that, because it doesn't fit over it.
Yeah.
Now I've got to get that collet off. Where's the split there? So that sits over there, maybe, but that doesn't sit central. Can't be right, surely. It doesn't mention anywhere in the instructions about that. There's no pictures, there's no nothing. That's the carb deal.
Yeah, does it go on the bottom of the carb?
No, there's no ring in there. And it's in the packet with the prop driver. So where does it sit? That is the question. I think it'd have to sit like that.
Oh no, hang on. There's a black bit, then there's
Yeah,
sort of
so
washer.
so we've got that there.
Yeah.
I think it sits like that to give it clearance. Maybe, I don't know. If anybody does know exactly where that sits, because it doesn't sit central, like, I don't know how everybody will be able to see, it can sit off to one side, which will give us balance issues. But if anybody does know where that's to sit, stick it in the comments. I'll take it out for just now and see how that looks. If I get this collet off again. So if the collet just goes on there by itself, I don't even know if we need that shim in there. I don't think we do. Would you be able to find me a 7.6, please?
Yeah.
So as I was saying previously, we've got this prop nut that actually goes through the washer, and then the prop will sit on that shaft. There isn't a plain bit of shaft here for the prop to sit on. So it screws on like that.
It has to be a yellow one.
We should have 7.6s. Have you looked in those packets?
Yeah, these are 8.6s.
Yeah, so that goes on there quite neatly like that. Getting a spinner off is going to be a problem. Is it going to be a problem? Not sure. Anyway, next thing that we've got is the muffler. As I said before, this appears to be really, really small. Can't see if it's got a baffle in it or anything, but it has got what looks like an insert in the exhaust. Most engines, the exhaust will stop there, like OS or ASP, SC or whatever. It looks like a fairly standard exhaust, but with that outlet piece. It's fairly well made, and that will obviously just sit on there. That does look tiny, doesn't it?
I think that's got to be a car engine.
I don't know.
It's gonna
I said it comes with the what?
It's going to be one of them. I don't know.
It comes with a gasket, bolts, Allen key. I bet that Allen key isn't the right size for doing that. So in the instructions it did say take the back plate off. And clear out any burrs, which really seems odd to me. And again, that's the wrong Allen key. Could I have a set of Allen keys, please? So we take the back plate off, because that's what the instructions say to do.
I thought they'd do this in the factory.
Well, yeah, but we'll see what there is inside. If anything, hopefully there isn't anything. So some of these are tighter than others coming out. Looks like there's a little bit of thread lock on them. I'm not going to fully take this engine apart to do like a full strip down inspection and whatnot, and that's not what I'm trying to do with this. Most people wouldn't even take this back plate off because you shouldn't really have to. But when the instructions say to do that, that seems a bit odd to me. So there is some oil in there. There's a O-ring or gasket on the back plate. I can't see any residue in there of machining or anything like that. There's no burrs, there's no nothing, there's no debris. And it's all pretty clean inside there. Again, I don't know how well you'll be able to see from there, but it's all pretty good. So I'm just going to stick that back plate straight back on. Make sure it goes in the right way.
I'll say use one of them.
No, because they're too big.
That's another option.
And you don't want to do with these bolts, just over tighten them, because then you might never get them out again if you need to. So that is basically the complete engine. It looks pretty good out the box. It does come with a plug. Again, I don't know how tight that is. It looks fairly well made. So really the next thing we need to do is get this onto the test bench. We need to change a few things. We need to tighten up the carb. We need to move the throttle arm round. Get it on the test bench, get a prop on it, and see what it'll do. What I suspect we will do is, once it's on the bench, is we'll literally flush it and flood it with fuel to clean out the oil, and then we'll try and follow their instructions as best we can, but most probably use some of our experience to get this thing running ourselves. I'm not sure I'm going to put 1.5 litres of fuel through it to run it in, but it might need that to loosen it off. That is going to take a long time to get that much fuel through a little engine like this. I don't know what 1.5 litres is in ounces, but this engine uses 4 ounce tank, and you'd normally get a good 5 to 8 minute flight out of that. But yeah, we'll get it on the test bench and see what it's like. Bit of light there. Sounds wet now. So hopefully that footage came out alright. Genuine first run. That engine is so smooth out of the box. Took a few flicks to get it going, however many flicks. It is still very tight, but it was running really smoothly even though it was tight. So to follow the instructions to the letter, we've got to run 1.5 litres of fuel through this before it's considered initially ready. That's going to take a long time. So I suspect what we'll do is off camera, keep on running it and see how it gets on. We're actually going to give it heat cycles. So let's say run it for 5 minutes, let it cool down to stone cold, run it again for 5 minutes so it gets heat cycles into the engine, rather than just running it for like an hour straight. It doesn't seem to be drinking much fuel at all, as in we've probably used...
We started with half a tank.
Yeah, we started with half a tank.
And there's half a tank left.
And there's still just under half a tank left. So I think once that's leaned out, that's going to run for ages on not much fuel.
Yeah.
So yeah, so far so good with this engine. Yeah, we'll get some more running on it and come back to you and tell you what we found. Right then, so this little 15. In the previous section, you were just in there that we ran it for the first time. We've run it a few times since, and it might well take a fair bit of running in to get it to loosen off. To me, that's a good sign, but it is going to take a lot of running. I've worked it out that it's going to take 13 of these tankfuls to do the 1.5 litres or however much they said in the instructions to get it initially run in. We can't run it here that much. That's just going to annoy the neighbours, so it's going to take time, and that time is going to have to be at the flying field doing this running up there. We might even have to make some sort of little standalone test stand rather than the big bench to actually do it on, which isn't the end of the world, but it's just something else we need to do. But I think it's going to be a good engine, because it's going to take so long to run in. I'm going to end this video just now, and we'll come back to you with a update video or part 2 or whatever you want to call it once we get it more run in, possibly even once we've got it in a model, to see how it performs, what we think of it in general. One thing I will say, or 2 things I'll say, and I think you and behind the camera would agree, it's very quiet. Given how small the muffler is, it's very, very quiet. Secondly, it seems, although it's not run in, it seems very powerful. The recommended props were a 7x4 up to a 7x6 up to an 8x4. Unfortunately, we didn't have either of those, so it's got an 8x6 on it. So the diameter isn't loading up the engine too much, and the pitch is keeping the airflow over it on the bench, so it's not overloading it for running it in. But it's more than happy on an 8x6. So I think this engine is going to perform pretty well, certainly in the models we're planning on putting it in. I've even looked to see what other engines are in the range, and even contemplated getting a second one of these already. If that doesn't say what I think of the engine, I don't know what does. So yeah, initial impressions really good, really powerful. Longevity, reliability, don't know yet, but we'll come back to you once we do have a gauge on how the engine is going to perform. If you're liking these sorts of unboxings, reviews, runnings, let us know. If you're not already, please consider subscribing. And from myself here and you and behind the camera, we'll see you next time.